Continuing our reading in Poppy and Ereth by Avi, today is Chapter 8, Lucy in the Sky. Poppy was still falling when she suddenly felt her skin pricked and then grabbed. Not only did she stop dropping, she was actually rising in short, jerky movements. Bewildered, she opened her eyes. She was being held higher than she had been before. The forest below was moving by very quickly. I'm not going to die by falling, she decided. I'm going to be eaten by some bird. She twisted her head around and looked up. To her complete surprise, the creature carrying her was not a bird. At first glance, it appeared to be a mouse, not much bigger than she. It had brown fur and bright black eyes, but the creature's nose was large for its pushed-in face, had flaring nostrils, and was not sharp like a mouse's. Its ears were very large and pointy. Most astonishing of all were the great leathery wings extending from the creature's body, wings that whipped in the air with such rapidity that they were hard to see. A bat had grabbed her. Poppy quickly recalled the things she had heard about bats, that they were strange, perhaps even magical creatures given to violent and erratic mischief, that they were guided themselves through the air by a mystical fashion, that bats, for no good reason at all, constantly attacked other creatures, even ate them, and that they entangled themselves in animals' fur, biting, scratching, and spreading all kinds of ghastly diseases. In short, bats were to be absolutely avoided. What to do? Clearly, she could not get away, not unless she wanted to fall. Perhaps speaking to the frightful thing would help. Poppy took a deep breath and called up, Hello there, can you hear me? Oh, hi, the bat squeaked. Were you talking to me? I was, said Poppy. Are you a bat? Oh, sure. What's your name? My full name is Lutitus lucifungus, but my friends call me Lucy. Lucy? I think it's nicer than fungus, the bat went on. Or and Otis is a boy's name, and I'm a girl. Oh, what's your name? Poppy. Boy or girl? Well, girl. Miss Poppy, I like that. I suppose I should thank you for catching me, said Poppy. Otherwise I'd have fallen, probably been killed. Ooh, that would be awful, agreed Lucy. Poppy hesitated for a moment and then said, Lucy, why did you grab me? What a question, said Lucy, her voice full of surprise. What do you think? Because I'm going to eat you. Eat me? Cried Poppy, her worst fears confirmed. Why would you want to do that? I think everyone eats something, said Lucy, only to add, don't they? I suppose, admitted Poppy, but I don't think you'd get much pleasure in eating an old mouse. Mouse? Cried Lucy. No way! Are you really a mouse? Really? From the tip of my nose to the tip of my tail, Poppy hastened to say. Miss Poppy, squeaked the bat, I'm so embarrassed. This was my first solo flight, and I thought you were a moth. How could you possibly mistake me for a moth? Poppy sputtered. Well, there you were, right up in the air over the forest, said Lucy. And that's where moths are, right? They're really tasty. The bat giggled. See, I've never met a mouse before, but now I know that mice fly too. I'd be happy to let you go. Lucy started to loosen her grip. No, don't, cried Poppy. I can't fly. Can't you? Said the bat. Then how did you get up in the air? It's too hard to explain, said Poppy, looking down at the darkening earth. Do you think you could just put me on the ground gently? Sorry, said Lucy. I can't, I'm late. Late for what? Mom told me to take my first flight, grab a snack if I could, and then get back home. I know. Hard to believe that at my age I actually have a curfew, but I do. How old are you? Poppy asked. 3 weeks. And did you say this was your first flight? Really exciting, isn't it? Said the bat as she made a sudden sharp turn, abrupt enough to startle Poppy. Poppy, resigned to being carried along, caught her breath and looked down and about. The last rays of the setting sun were cutting across Dimwood's treetops, so that the whole forest seemed edged with gold. The sky had been transformed into a panoramic, multi-hued rainbow of blue, orange, and pink. How huge the sky is, thought Poppy. How beautiful. This is certainly a lovely way to see the world. As always, seeing something lovely made Poppy think of Rye, who would have written a poem about such an extraordinary sight. But these pleasant thoughts were cut short when Lucy abruptly plunged to a lower altitude. They were now skimming over the treetops. Oh my, exclaimed Poppy, almost breathless. Am I flying poorly? Lucy asked. Oh, just fine, Poppy managed. She tried to determine where she was, telling herself she would need to return home on her own. Lucy, however, was going so fast it was hard to pick out landmarks. Besides, the sun was all but down. The only light was coming from the far west. Lucy dipped deeper among the tall, dark trees, darting around them with such sharp turns and shifts, Poppy became giddy. Do you live in a tree? She asked. Oh no, we live in a cave. Even as she spoke, the young bat broke away from the trees. Flying swiftly, if somewhat erratically, Lucy was now heading right toward a high cliff. As far as Poppy could see, it was a wall of solid stone. Lucy, cried Poppy, there's a rock cliff straight ahead. Shouldn't you turn? I don't think so, said Lucy, continuing to fly straight toward the face of the rock. Poppy had no doubt the young bat was about to crash. She closed her eyes and said, Goodbye, world. And that is the end of the chapter 8.